The Canadian Pacific Railway is a transcontinental railway that currently spans from Montreal to Vancouver and owns approximately 20,000 kilometers of track all across Canada. What would eventually become the backbone of Canada started as a pledge that Sir John A. Macdonald made to British Columbia before entering Canada in 1871. British Columbia wanted a railway that united them with the rest of Canada within 10 years of joining. That was met with the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway 10 years later in 1881. The Canadian Pacific Railway was incorporated in 1881 and they started construction on February 16th that year. The government gave CP Rail $25 million and 10 million hectares. In exchange, CP Rail agreed to complete the railway in 10 years. In 1882, the construction was moving slow, so the railway operators hired a man named William Van Horn, a famous railway executive from the United States who claimed he could have
500 miles of rail built by the end of this year.
He said that he could have it finished, but he came up short,
Dagnabbit!
delivering 462 miles, which was off by 38 miles, and that was finished the next year. CP Rail employed about 17,000 Chinese workers for the railroad and paid them about $1 a day, which wasn't that much when they had to pay for their own food, supplies, shelter, and other needs, but the white workers were paid about $1.50 to $2.50 a day, and their supplies were already paid for. But the Chinese workers were also given the most difficult and dangerous jobs, which could have resulted badly. And another thing was there wasn't proper medical care, so if there was an accident, the white workers would have probably been treated first, and the Chinese were probably seen as expendable.
That's the third one we lost this month. Cochrane, get another volunteer.
I went back in again, but I lost many friends. They say there is one dead Chinese man for every mile of that track. That's what they say.
Majestic hotels were constructed along the rail throughout the country, and they were owned and operated by the railway. The first hotel was put up in 1887, and construction continues to this day. By the 1990s, Canadian Pacific Hotels and Resorts had become Canada's largest hotel owner. After the completion of the railway came the safety regulations. That meant there were fixes needed in places like Kicking Horse Pass through the Rocky Mountains, a 350-meter drop. With the installation of spiral tunnels on the tracks, the trains were less likely to lose control. A spiral tunnel is a tunnel or track that loops over or under itself, creating a smoother ascent and descent. The track was completed in 1885, 6 years earlier than expected, fulfilling a promise extended to British Columbia when it entered Confederation. The final spike was pounded into the track on November 7, 1885, by Donald Smith, a Canadian businessman. By the end of the construction, the track went from Port Moody, BC, to Montreal, Quebec, and it's estimated that some 1,000 Chinese laborers died building that track.